Atlanta, a city built on ambition. One summer morning, that ambition turned to chaos when 5 men stopped the city cold.
Atlanta, a city built on hustle, heart, and heat. From the glass towers downtown to the cracked streets of Bankhead, everything here moves to a rhythm, the rhythm of ambition. It's a city that celebrates the climb, where everyone's chasing something, a dream, a dollar, or an escape. But beneath the glow of skyscrapers and the hum of traffic, there's another rhythm, quieter, sharper, and far more dangerous. It belongs to the people who've run out of chances. The ones who no longer chase, they take. And that's where the story begins. Not with sirens, not with gunfire, but with a whisper. In the summer of 2021, 5 men began meeting in the shadows of an abandoned warehouse on the edge of the city. They weren't friends. They weren't soldiers. They were survivors. Each had a reason to risk it all, and together, they were about to rewrite the rules of crime in Atlanta. They called themselves the Kings of Peachtree. And what they were planning would stop the city cold. Every great crime starts with a desperate man, or in this case, 5. There was Marcus "Slick" Harris, a former armored truck driver who knew every vault route in Atlanta. Fired after a scandal that wasn't his fault, he carried a grudge as heavy as the money he once hauled. Then came Rico Vaughn, the brains, a college dropout turned hacker who could freeze traffic lights and scramble security feeds with a laptop and a burner phone. Tyrone T. Jackson, muscle and ex-Marine, discharged for reasons the military still won't talk about. Deshaun Briggs, the wheelman, street racer, quiet, loyal, and deadly behind the wheel of anything with an engine. And finally, Khalid Moore, the ghost, a man with no records, no fingerprints, but connections that ran from East Point to the Caribbean. Together, they didn't look like a crew. But when Marcus laid the blueprints on the dusty warehouse table, maps, guard shifts, security cycles, everything changed. The silence turned to adrenaline. Atlanta's biggest Federal Reserve transfer was scheduled for July 23rd. 2 trucks. 1 stop. And for the first time, Marcus smiled. He looked up at the others and said, "Gentlemen, if this works, by noon tomorrow, we'll own Atlanta." For weeks, the Kings of Peachtree turned that old warehouse into their war room. They studied everything, guard rotations, ATM refill times, even the lunch schedule of the armored truck drivers. Rico hacked into city surveillance grids, looping traffic cameras and rerouting live feeds. He was building a ghost version of Atlanta, one that only they could see. Deshaun mapped out every alley, underpass, and exit ramp between Peachtree Street and I-85. He knew which lights stayed green longest, which intersections could be jammed remotely, and how to vanish in rush hour chaos. Tyrone tested weapons, not for show, but precision. No unnecessary casualties. No noise. Just in, out, and gone before anyone knew they existed. And Marcus? He played chess. Each piece of the plan moved only when he said so. But there was one thing none of them could predict: FBI Special Agent Dana Cole. A veteran investigator with a nose for lies and a memory like steel. She'd spent the last 6 months tracking a string of armored truck hits across the South. And when a pattern led her straight to Atlanta, she booked the next flight. The Kings were planning the perfect crime. But Dana Cole was about to make it personal. The night before the heist, the city breathed easy, unaware that a storm was forming in the shadows. In a small apartment overlooking the Beltline, Marcus sat alone. A whiskey glass half empty. His reflection stared back at him from the dark window, a man who had nothing left to lose. Down in the basement garage, Deshaun tuned the engine of a black Dodge Challenger, their getaway car. The hum of the engine was smooth, quiet, lethal. Rico sat at his desk surrounded by screens, coding until his fingers trembled. He'd built a system that could freeze police dispatch for exactly 11 minutes. No more, no less. Tyrone cleaned his rifle, slow and deliberate. He wasn't expecting to use it, but he believed in preparation more than luck. And Khalid, he was already gone. His job started at sunrise. 5 men. 5 stories. all colliding into one moment that would change Atlanta forever. At 3:47 a.m., a thunderstorm rolled across the city. Rain battered the streets, washing the night clean, as if Atlanta itself knew what was coming. Marcus whispered into the empty room, "One last ride." The rain hadn't stopped. It fell like a curtain between reality and crime. Marcus's voice came over the radio. "Positions. No mistakes." Rico's laptop glowed inside the van. Code lines flickered like lightning across the screen. Within seconds, traffic lights from Peachtree to Auburn Avenue froze in green, the streets became theirs. Tyrone's SUV blocked the intersection near the Federal Reserve transport route, hazard lights flashing like a wounded animal. The first armored truck slowed. The second followed. Deshaun revved the Challenger, ready for the getaway. His heart matched the engine's growl. At exactly 5:46, the streetlights died, total blackout. The rain muffled everything except the sound of boots hitting wet asphalt. Marcus and Tyrone moved in with military precision. Two guards never saw them coming, disarmed, zip-tied, and silent before they could blink. Within 90 seconds, the rear doors of the truck opened. Rico counted down in his earpiece. 10 seconds till grid reboot. Marcus lifted the first duffel, heavy, cold, full of cash. And for a moment, it felt too easy. It was supposed to be flawless, but perfection never survives the streets. When Rico's timer hit 0, something unexpected happened. Instead of rebooting clean, the grid glitched. For a brief second, all downtown power came alive again, sirens, lights, cameras. The blackout ended too early. A nearby gas station camera caught everything. And so did a passing city bus. "We're burned." Rico shouted into the mic. "No, we move." Marcus barked back. Tyrone threw the final duffel into the trunk. The rain turned to mist as tires screeched across Peachtree Street. Inside the Federal Reserve Dispatch, alarms began blaring. By the time Atlanta PD received the alert, the Kings were already gone. They raced through empty streets, headlights off, water spraying from beneath the wheels. The storm cloaked their trail, but not enough. From the high-rise across the street, a single figure watched them go, FBI agent Dana Cole. She wasn't supposed to be there. But instincts had pulled her out of bed before dawn. She snapped a photo on her phone, a blurry image of the black Challenger disappearing into the storm. Her message to HQ was short. "It's them." The rain turned Atlanta's streets into mirrors, reflections of chaos and consequence. Deshaun gripped the steering wheel like it was his lifeline. The Challenger sliced through back alleys and flooded roads, its engine roaring against the storm. Marcus sat beside him, duffel bags stacked at his feet, water dripping from his gloves. Behind them, sirens screamed, faint at first, then closer. Rico's voice crackled through the radio, panic rising. "We got a signal ping. They're tracking us." "Kill it." Marcus barked. Rico yanked open a signal jammer the size of a lunchbox, sparks flying as he ripped out its wires. Static filled the channel. "Gone," he muttered. "We're ghosts again." But ghosts don't sweat, and Marcus was drenched. They turned down Memorial Drive, the storm swallowing their taillights. To the untrained eye, it was just another night of thunder and rain. To the city's underbelly, it was history being written in motion. Agent Dana Cole followed the trail through traffic cameras, her eyes locked on the grainy image. Every time the Challenger appeared, it vanished again, as if the rain itself was helping them hide. She whispered to herself, "You can run, boys, but not forever." Furiously on his laptop, trying to erase digital trails before sunrise. Tyrone counted and recounted the money, 50 duffel bags of government-stamped bills. But something didn't add up. "We were supposed to hit one truck," Rico muttered. "Why were there two?" "Does it matter?" Tyrone shot back. "Yeah, it matters," Marcus said coldly. Somebody changed the route. They exchanged glances, uneasy, heavy. The kind of silence that cracks under guilt. A cell phone buzzed on the workbench. Everyone froze. Marcus picked it up. Unknown number. He answered, slow, cautious. Static. Then a voice, distorted, almost whispering. Nice job. Now let's talk about what you owe. Marcus's heart dropped. No one outside the crew was supposed to know. When he looked up, the others were staring, confusion twisting into fear. The heist wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a much bigger game. By dawn, the storm had cleared, but inside the safe house, the air was still electric with tension. Marcus sat alone, his cigarette burning to the filter. He stared at the wall, seeing not paint, but blood, not smoke, but guilt. Across the room, Rico whispered into his phone. His voice was low, careful. Too careful. Tyrone noticed first. Who you talking to? Nobody. Checking the route. At 6 a.m.? Tyrone said, stepping closer. Rico's hand trembled as he tucked the phone into his pocket. Marcus stood, slow and deliberate, the leader's presence filling the room. You call someone outside this crew? No, man. I swear. The sound of the gun was louder than thunder. One shot. Rico dropped. Silence followed, thick and suffocating. Tyrone's chest heaved. You didn't have to. Marcus cut him off, eyes cold. He sold us out. He turned to Deshawn. Get rid of the phone. Burn it. Deshawn nodded, but his hands shook as he picked it up. The message still flashed on the cracked screen. Meet tonight. Midtown lot. Your cut's waiting. Rico hadn't been lying. Outside, the first light of morning crept through the cracked garage door, painting everything in ghostly gold. Inside, 3 men stared at each other, knowing one bullet had changed everything. By midday, the sound of rain had been replaced by the buzz of helicopters overhead. The city was waking up to the headlines. Downtown heist, $40 million vanishes in overnight storm. The Kings were now ghosts, but ghosts still left footprints. Marcus watched the news from an old TV on the workbench, smoke curling from his half-lit cigarette. The anchor's voice echoed through the shop. The FBI has joined the search, calling this the most coordinated robbery in Georgia's history. Tyrone paced. You said no one would trace it. Marcus didn't answer. Deshawn stood by the window, curtains drawn, his hand shaking as he loaded his gun. They weren't just running from the police anymore, they were running from whoever had made that call last night. We split tonight, Marcus said. North, west, and south. Burn everything. And you? Tyrone asked. I finished this, Marcus said. Outside, sirens wailed like a heartbeat, distant but approaching. The storm may have cleared, but it had left behind something worse than floodwater, guilt. Each man left the garage without a word, knowing their brotherhood had ended with Rico's last breath. Only Marcus stayed, watching the rain start again, small droplets tapping the hood of the Challenger like a warning. Night fell over Atlanta like a second storm. Helicopters combed the skyline, their searchlights cutting through mist and smoke from the city's industrial district. Agent Dana Cole hadn't slept in 36 hours. Her team pored over security footage, still frames of a black Dodge Challenger appearing like a ghost across intersections. Each glimpse led nowhere, until now. Freeze that frame, she ordered. On the screen, one frame stood out, the reflection of Marcus's face in a gas station window, caught in the glow of a red light. His expression wasn't fear. It was resolve. Cole leaned closer. He's not running. He's planning. Meanwhile, on the outskirts of the city, Tyrone hid in an old apartment above a pawn shop. The blinds were drawn, the air thick with sweat and paranoia. Every noise outside sounded like footsteps. He turned on the radio. The suspects are believed to be heavily armed. He turned it off just as fast. Somewhere else, Deshawn buried the stolen phones in the woods near I-20, his hands trembling. He wasn't thinking about the money anymore, just survival. The city pulsed with sirens, but Marcus was silent. Watching. Waiting. The storm had passed, but the hunt had only begun. Marcus drove alone down I-85, the hum of the engine blending with the faint hiss of rain against the windshield. The city lights blurred in the rearview, red, blue, and white, chasing like ghosts. He'd lost everyone. Tyrone caught at the border. Deshaun gunned down trying to run. Rico, long gone. Now, it was just him. The last man standing. He pulled into a desolate parking lot outside an old warehouse, the same one where it all began. The same voice that called after the heist had sent him coordinates again. The phone buzzed. "Come inside," the voice said. Marcus stepped through the cracked door, gun drawn. Inside, one dim bulb swayed above a table stacked with money, and across from it, Agent Dana Cole. She wasn't in uniform. Just a black coat, hands folded. "You always were smarter than the rest," she said softly. "That's why we let you run." Marcus froze. "Let me?" Cole slid a folder across the table, photos of the crew, timelines, call logs. "This wasn't just a heist, Marcus. You hit a federal drop. You were bait." His hand trembled. He looked down at the gun, then at her. "So what happens now?" "Now," she said. "You tell me who gave the orders, or this story ends like every other in this city." Marcus exhaled slowly. For the first time, he smiled, tired, hollow. He placed the gun on the table, barrel facing himself. The screen cut to black before the shot echoed. And over the silence, the narrator's voice. "In Atlanta, crime doesn't pay, it collects.